Welcome to Newton's Workshop. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. So today we're going to be discussing The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. Ooh, this is such a good book. Okay, so I love Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I love that book. I love it. I've read it 3 times. I mean, it's one of my favorite books to read, right next to Dracula. Actually, I think I might like it more than Dracula. But it's such a good book. And it's one of those where you see things new or in a different light the more you read it, because I read it like a year or so apart. I read it once in high school and I read it twice in college for my Gothic Lit class. It's just a phenomenal book. I mean, I wrote a whole paper on it. I only got a B+, but still, I'm really proud of this paper. It's such an amazing book. So I've never really read a retelling of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and this is what this is. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein is a retelling of sorts about that book, and it was so clever. I mean, this is a book, when I was finished reading it, I was like, oh my god, Mary Shelley would love this book. Mary Shelley, this is a book I feel like Mary Shelley would have written. It captured her voice perfectly, and it follows Elizabeth Frankenstein. Elizabeth is the love interest of Victor in the original Mary Shelley's, but she doesn't really have a whole persona or character. It's about Victor, it's about the monster, and it's about what really is a monster. And let's be real, we all know that Victor is the monster in the story, and that is something that White capitalizes in this story, but we're seeing it through Elizabeth's eyes. Now, Elizabeth, she was brought on to be like the childhood playmate of Victor, and then she went from playmate to love interest, and they fell in love. But we're seeing it differently through Elizabeth's eyes. Now, did she really love him, or was he just something to keep her from going back into the sad situation she was in when she was a child, where she was, half starved and physically abused, not well taken care of. But, she was rescued, she was brought on, she learned everything about Victor. She learned to temper herself around Victor. She became his armor, his shield, his sword. She became what he needed, forgetting about herself. And she did that to make herself indispensable. So when he goes missing, she's frantic. He's missing. What's going to happen to me? Am I going to be kicked out of this house? So she goes on this whole adventure to look for Victor. And of course, we all know what she finds isn't exactly something good. It's not good. She finds his monster. She finds his creation. She finds Victor. She begins to truly see him for the sociopath that he is. I mean, he's an egomaniac. He's nuts. But I think we all knew this. I mean, anyone who's, again, if you've read Frankenstein, he's the monster in the story, not his creation. He is the monster. Everything he did was monstrous. And you're seeing just how mad he is through Elizabeth's eyes. And it's a slow-going development. At first, you're thinking, oh my goodness. Like, no, he's actually a good guy. But I love that tension, that eerie rising tension that goes from beginning to end, and it just like rises in such a wonderfully tense way. I mean, it's gripping. It is gripping. And when you get to those intense climactic moments, you're just like, oh my god. What I also love what White did was with the characterization. She gave Elizabeth a really good voice. Elizabeth is clever. She's thoughtful. She's reserved, but she's very powerful. She knows how to present herself to manipulate the situation in her favor. She knows how to play her hand properly. And I like the voice that the monster was given as well. It captured. It was tender. It was heartbreaking. It was sad. And it's supposed to be, but it resonates off the pages. And I love their dynamic and their friendship and the relationship that grows between them. And also the fact that she throws in this character named Mary, I'm like, that's Mary Shelley. she gave Mary Shelley a role in her own story. And I love that because I'm like, this is how I would imagine Mary Shelley to have been in reality. You know, clever, a bookseller. I mean, she was just, it was such a great way to honor Mary Shelley and honor and respect the original piece of work while also bringing it new life. Pun intended. She gives it new life. She gives it something unique, and it's like haunting and eerie, and it's just such a good book, honestly. And if you love Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you are going to love this book because, again, I really do think if Mary Shelley were alive, this is the book she would have written. I think this is the story she would have written, honestly. And I could just imagine Mary Shelley reading it and being like, this is a good book. I quite love this book. It's really good. That's how I imagine her to read it. But, you know, to each their own. I absolutely love this book, and I think everyone should read it. So on that note, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars, because it was phenomenal, and I loved it, and I highly recommend it to everyone. Especially people who love horror. And a little bit of feminine rage in there as well. So, excellent book. I highly recommend it. 4 out of 5 stars. On that note, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.